This will be a video explaining how to do the 7.C.II.2 level 1 questions. So I suggest that when you do this quiz that you have a pen and paper handy so that you can write down some of the information you'll need to figure out what you need to answer for the particular question. Okay. So for question 1 here, there are only 2 of these, and they're actually both fairly complicated. So if you can do these things, you're in probably pretty good shape to do the rest of the work in this chapter as far as figuring out what you know from some set of information here about an entire claim being true or false. Okay. So for each of these, what I first need to figure out is what the main operator for the proposition I have in front of me, or the claim I have in front of me, is. And my suggestion for this is always to figure out what things are grouped together first. So here I see that this thing is grouped together, S or R is one kind of claim, and that this block of P or S or R is one claim. So that tells me this is actually one whole piece that has an internal piece. And then I have this then Q part that's off by itself. And what that tells me then, this is one part of the whole thing. This is the second part of the whole thing. And so the main operator is actually this business here, the horseshoe wedge, or excuse me, the horseshoe, aka the conditional. So this is a conditional claim that says if this first part is true, which is either P or true or S or R is true, then it follows that Q is true. And it's going to ask me then whether the whole thing is true or false or cannot be determined based on information that they're going to give me in the prompt. All right? And in the prompt they tell me P is true. Right? So I suggest again pen and paper so you can write this stuff down. So I'm going to write this thing out, which you won't see, but I'm doing. And then I'm just going to plug in these values into the thing I've written down so it's easier for me to keep track of it. So here P is true. So the first part of the disjunctive claim there is true. Q is also true. Well, okay. As soon as I learn that Q is true, you can actually shortcut it here. Because Q is true, this whole thing must be true. Because for a conditional, if the consequent is true, it cannot be false. But supposing you didn't remember that, you can still work this thing through. R is false. Okay. So one part of the disjunctions part is false. But that really doesn't matter because once P is true, I know this whole disjunction is true. And then S is unassigned. I don't know what S is. Okay. I actually know what this whole thing is still, despite that fact. I don't need to know what S is to figure out this whole thing must be true. Because when I look at this, when P is true, well, that automatically makes this OR claim, the big one here, not this nested one, true, because one of the parts is true. And Q is true, and so I have a true, which means the compound composition must be true. And that's how I'd figure out how to do that one. And this second one will be something similar where you have to work through, figure out what the main operator is, plug in your information, and then see what you know based on the information that's contained within the question. Hopefully that helped. Good luck.